Your morning coffee now comes with a $1 billion invisible tax. A tax on imported coffee that doesn't appear on any ballot, but that we Americans will be paying each year. The now world-famous tariffs. And business owners across the country discovered the true scale of it in the harshest way possible. I'll tell you the story of a 35-employee company exporting made-in-USA products worldwide since 2004, the American dream. But this year, sales dropped by 15%. In April, it was 30%. And for the first time in its lifetime, the company is considering moving operations offshore. How can a 100% American company fall victim to import taxes? The answer reveals an invisible mechanism that is reshaping your purchasing power in real time. From your breakfast coffee to the car in your garage, tariffs you never see are transforming our economy. In 10 minutes, you'll understand the true effect of tariffs and why your wallet is already feeling the effects. But first, what was the official story? Let's look at what this bill was supposed to do. The current tariff structure rolled out in phases, starting in April 2025 with a 10% universal rate, then escalating through the summer. By August, the average applied tariff rate was 19.4%, the highest since 1941. The entire system is currently under Supreme Court review, but the administration's message is clear and confident. The White House frames it as economic patriotism. Billions of dollars in tariffs are now flowing into the United States of America, President Trump posted just after midnight when the latest rates took effect. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick announced that tariffs are generating $50 billion in tariff revenue each month. Likewise, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent proudly posted on social media about $180 billion this fiscal year, calling it a record high. Sounds good, right? Billions flowing into the federal treasury, companies and countries making big pledges to invest in the US, and American manufacturing getting the protection it needs to compete globally. That's simple math. Foreign countries pay, America benefits, manufacturing returns home. But mind the gap between the promise and what's actually happening, starting with your daily routine. Start with the device you're probably holding right now, your smartphone. Every semiconductor, every circuit board, every tiny capacitor that makes it work, they all come from a global supply chain now facing massive tariffs. Electrical equipment prices have jumped 15.2% in the short run, settling at 7.4% permanently higher. That's not just phones, it's laptops, tablets, home appliances, and anything with a chip inside. But electronics are just the beginning. Here's what Neil Bradley from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce says about your morning routine.
We are never going to grow coffee in America. We don't have the climate to grow coffee. We import all the coffee that we drink. The tariffs that have been imposed is a $1 billion coffee tax. We're not going to suddenly start growing coffee here. So what are we doing? We're raising the prices that you and I pay. If you happen to own a coffee shop, all of a sudden the thing that you sell the most has just gone up in price. I could tell similar stories about bananas and all kinds of other things. So let's just exempt that from taxes and tariffs too. And so we could do a lot of those things and it'd be really helpful to the economy.
According to the State of U.S. Tariffs report from September 2025, fresh produce prices are 4.1% more expensive, settling at 2.7% permanently higher. Avocados, the #1 fruit in grocery stores, face 20 to 25% price increases. Even seafood isn't safe. 80% of U.S. seafood consumption comes from high tariff countries. Same with your clothes. It just got drastically more expensive. Apparel prices have spiked 36.2% in the short run, staying 12.8% higher long term. Textiles are 22% more expensive initially. Leather products like shoes or handbags face the biggest hit, 37.3% increases that settle at 13.2% permanently higher. Same with cars. Economists calculated that auto tariffs could add from $2,000 to $15,000 to a new vehicle, depending on where it's made. For instance, some brands fall into a high tariff group because their models are built in Mexico. The numbers add up fast. The Tax Foundation calculates that American households are paying an average of $1,300 more in taxes per year in 2025, rising to $1,600 more in 2026. For many families, that's months of groceries. The Congressional Budget Office projects tariffs could generate $4 trillion over 10 years. But as economist Justin Wolfers noted, it's not a windfall, it's a tax. A hidden tax touching every aspect of daily life. But why is this happening? I mean, foreign companies were supposed to pay, right? Julie Robbins thought she had it figured out. American-made guitar pedals, American workers, American success story, until she started digging into why her costs were exploding. We use 961 different components, Julie explains, sourced from over 14 different countries of origin. Wait, what? This reveals something most Americans don't realize. There's almost nothing in our economy that's truly 100% domestic anymore. Take that guitar pedal. The circuit board comes from China, resistors from Taiwan, capacitors from Japan. The aluminum enclosure is formed in Ohio, but the raw aluminum? Canada. Even the screws holding it together come from Vietnam. But weren't these suppliers supposed to write the check?
But assuming it does come from Brazil, say, or it comes from any country with a tariff, who writes the check to the Treasury?
The check is written to the person who receives it at the dock in the U.S.
The check is written by the person who receives it at the dock. So the tariff is paid in this country by the importer. Is that right?
But the Brazilian exporter could decide that they want to keep market share. They could lower their price so that the full 50% of the tariff, say,
they can eat part of the cost. They can eat part of the tariff,
which is what we've seen.
Okay, but the check is written by the importer, right at the dock.
Yeah, the importer can pass it on or not.
Julie's math confirms this reality. One of her products that cost $129 to make now requires a 23% price increase just to maintain the same profit margin. Obviously, she's not getting greedy, but simply covering the overnight cost spike. So sales are affected. She reported being down 15% for the year. In April alone, she was down nearly 30%. The impact isn't theoretical anymore. It's measurable, documented, and happening right now to real businesses across America. This was just one example of how these costs ripple through the economy. It has an impact on businesses you didn't even think about. Now, think about wedding dresses. Neil Bradley from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce reported what happened to a small bridal shop in Pennsylvania. A lot of wedding dresses are sewn, manufactured in China, Vietnam, and Cambodia. You generally order these months and months in advance. Every bride knows, and you will generally pay and agree to the price for that up front. The owner of that bridal shop sold dresses, but before tariffs were adopted. Now, when she takes delivery of that dress, the tariff is in place, but she had already quoted the price. She was stuck paying that bill. And that's bigger than what she was actually going to make on that sale to begin with. Here's another story, but this time from a family business. Jennifer Bergman owned Westside Kids, an independent toy store in New York City that her mother founded 45 years ago. When CBS News visited her in December, her biggest worry was online competition. Hard, but manageable. Then the tariffs hit.
I was 14 when the store opened. I'm 58 now. I grew up here. It's my home. I met some amazing people. I wouldn't have wanted to do anything else. The toys and the books and the games, they're memories that we all cherish from our childhood.
After 44 years, Westside Kids is closing.
Our ultimate competition is online shopping.
Where do most of the products in your store come from?
China.
How much of a factor were the tariffs in that decision?
It was the final nail in the coffin, definitely. With the announcement of the tariffs, people just got really scared and stopped spending money.
Jeremy Land, CEO of Fontana Forni USA, imports high-end outdoor pizza ovens from Italy. His business faced what he calls two tariffs on our products, a 15% EU tariff plus a 50% steel tariff.
In June, I had 2 ocean containers come in and they were taxed at over 80%. And we paid our 80% tariff on these ocean containers that came in, and later found out that that isn't exactly what the situation is. Working with our customs brokers, they're not even exactly sure what the procedures are. So not only does it tie up cash, it's hard to plan, and it constantly has us rethinking inventory levels. We absorbed the cost for as long as we could, and we've even absorbed some of the cost to not pass it all on to the customer. But August 1st, we did have a 10% increase in prices.
This creates what economists call a chilling effect. When businesses can't predict costs, they stop making long-term commitments. Because small businesses can't stockpile inventory like Amazon or Walmart. They buy what they need when they need it. But when costs spike overnight, they're trapped between losing money on every sale or losing customers to higher prices. In a recent PwC study, 98% of CEOs admitted they lack confidence in their cash flow visibility. So this isn't just about guitar pedals or toy stores. The entire economy is being affected right now. Meanwhile, invoicing becomes a compliance gateway. Get the tariff codes wrong on your invoices and you face fines, delays, or seized shipments. Suddenly, your accounting department needs to become trade law experts. What are these businesses going to do now? Julie faces a decision she never thought she'd have to make.
So even though it always would have been more affordable to manufacture overseas, we've always prioritized having jobs here in Ohio. We are now actually considering for the first time offshoring our manufacturing due to the chaos around the tariffs. Our competitors overseas, they are not dealing with these issues. They don't have these extra fees. And so it's like the US is basically the least competitive place to be manufacturing.
A policy designed to bring manufacturing back to America is pushing an American manufacturer to consider leaving America. The tariffs create what economists call a double squeeze. First, costs to import components keep rising. Second, other countries are retaliating with their own tariffs on American exports. The Tax Foundation tracks $223 billion worth of U.S. exports now facing retaliatory tariffs from other countries as of September 2025. This means American manufacturers get hit twice. They pay more for the parts they need, and they have a harder time selling their finished products abroad. But you? At your kitchen table, you're making the same impossible choices. The recent CBS News poll shows Americans increasingly believe the economy is good, but the majority expect prices to rise in the coming months. When the Commerce Department tracks consumer spending, they found Americans are increasingly focused on necessities, housing, healthcare, and groceries. The discretionary spending that fuels business growth, restaurants, entertainment, hobbies, gets squeezed. For businesses like Earthquaker, this means fewer people buy guitar pedals. For toy stores like Westside Kids, fewer parents buy non-essential gifts. Neil Bradley from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce quantifies the small business impact. There are about 235,000 small businesses who are themselves importers every year, and they actually import 32% of the total value of all the things that America imports. He calculates this equals a tax bill that's $9,000 a second, every minute of every hour of every day for a full year. The final irony? The companies best positioned to weather this storm are often the biggest ones. The companies that survive this chaos can see what's happening to their money in real time. When you can't predict what's coming next, the ability to respond quickly becomes everything. Sadly, this is not the only trouble businesses have to go through this year. The big beautiful bill promises no tax on tips, but are tipped workers being paid more? Yeah, that's a bit more complicated than it looks. Have a look at this video.